Yo, maybe what's up?
Hi. Good, good. How are you?
I'm good. I hear you have some questions about a specific project. Tell me what you got.
Yeah, like this week going around Twitter, I was getting all of these images of like Opepen, and I was absolutely not into that project. I couldn't understand what was happening. So it feels like it's like some kind of culture kind of thing, and it's pretty interesting. So going back, like I just checked and I saw who the artist is, which is Jack Butcher, and I remember about all the check thing. And what I remember from the check thing is just I did a mint. I'm still salty about it. Still salty about missing the checks boat. So what happens is that many times when I miss a boat, I just don't dig deeper just because I
Okay.
missed the boat, just because I didn't mint that project. But I don't know. There, it seems like there's something interesting going on, and I would like to, learn more about it. Even though I haven't bought any.
Yeah.
I know
So I mean,
you know about it.
I'm pretty deep in the Jack Butcher world. I think I started following him up 2-3 years back. And a lot of the I think Atari brand, if you want to call it that, it's a lot of it's based on some of the principles that he laid out in his course of like content creation and getting you to think about it differently. So he's an artist I've been following for quite a while. And I did have some Opepens. But yeah, I mean, before I get into it, I feel like most people know about Jack Butcher, or they know about checks, and then they know about Jack Butcher. So my question is, how much do you know about checks? Because I don't think you minted that either, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't mint OPEP and I didn't mint checks. What I know about checks is that they look like checks, and that I didn't make any
Yeah.
money with it. But
Okay.
I heard that there is a lot more going on, so I think it's the moment for me to really understand, besides the financial reasons, to really understand what the artist wanted to do behind that.
Yeah. Okay. So I think like before we even get into Opepen, I feel like we have to talk about checks. Jack Butcher actually just published this thread a few days ago, so I'll go over it very briefly. But at a high level, the whole idea was, and it was a commentary on the fact that, you know, Twitter was now going verified where it's pay to play. You can pay $8 to get a check mark. And the tagline was, this person may or may not be notable. And it cost $8 to mint one of these. And that really took Twitter by storm. And 16,000 people minted these checks, and that's when the experiment got interesting. And Jack admits it openly. He didn't plan for checks to be what it is right now, um, because it minted January 3rd, and he says right here on February 12th, a mechanism for migrating open editions to immutable on-chain artwork was deployed. So, really simply, you had the original checks, and then you could migrate them into an on-chain original. And this was really interesting and important because this was, I think it was another advancement in smart contract technology where you were able to pack this much information. So this is like an animation. It's an SVG animation of a bunch of different colors, and it animates. And this is all on chain. And so when something's put on chain, it means that there's no external dependency like an IPFS server. Everything is just living on the Ethereum blockchain. So that was really interesting. And then there's also this really cool burn mechanism, and I recommend you guys check out the full thread if you want to know more. But the burn mechanism was cool because it was essentially you had the original, and then you would take two originals right here to merge into a 40 check. So these are 80 check, 80 check. You take two of them, you can merge into a 40 check, and then you could continue that with taking four originals, merge those into 240 checks, and then 240s go to 20. And this went on and on and on until you had the holy grail, which was the black check. So there's only three black checks possible, and it takes 4,096 originals to get to a black check. And so that's obviously like a crazy number. So that was what Checks was, and Checks is still ongoing. I like to think of it like a game where people are, you know, using the different combinations of colors and patterns and styles, and they want to make their best check possible. So that's Checks. Does that all make sense? Do you have any questions about that?
It's pretty interesting. The thing is that once I missed the whole mint thing, I didn't even learn about all these merging things. The fact that the checks were changing and they were becoming, let's say, like the number is decreasing, right? Supply is decreasing because of this mechanism. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So around the same time, there was another open mint by Jack Butcher, and this one was a free mint for. It was Opepen. It was a banner, and it looked like this on the top left. It was like this banner right here that you could put as your Twitter banner or OpenSea banner. And part of this was, I think, inspired by one of his friends, Jaleel, who has a project called Punkscapes, and it's now just called Scapes. And it was a banner project. I think it minted back in 2021, where it was if punks were the PFP, then the question was, what's the banner? And so this was very much, I think, inspired by that. And then it was 3-4 weeks after Opepen minted that, and checks when the work for that smart contract was completed, that the metadata changes, just like how we did for checks, started for Opepen. It was first a green circle, and then there's shapes. And I think this is part of Jack Butcher's genius. He understands, I think, more than anybody else, what building in public actually looks like, and what updates are valuable updates to share versus just noise. And so we kind of got to see over the span of, I would say, a week or so, what the plan was, and the shapes kept changing. This is when the Coinbase base came out, the layer 2 solution, and then we kind of over here started seeing like a shape that seemed to be pretty sticky. And from here onward, you could see a lot of it followed this same cadence. You have the two eyes looking to the side, and you have a mouth. And the whole idea initially was this was going to be a PFP project. And I think it still is a PFP project, but it was going to be a PFP project where most of the Opepens they're going to look like variations of this. So you have one that's transparent and one that's looking to the left, the other one's looking to the right over here, different colors, gradients, etc. And then there was some talk about it being incorporated with checks and the gradient technology there. But this is where it gets really interesting. Instead of all of that, what happened at the exact same time, and Jack Butcher writes a thread about this, is that Midjourney 5 and a lot of other advancements in AI were happening. And this is like, I'm speaking about this as if it's a while ago, but this is just maybe 3 weeks ago, like 21 days ago. But this is the speed of the culture nowadays, right?
Yeah.
and so, and also the speed of NFTs and what happens on Twitter. And so while the plan initially was to create a PFP with a bunch of different variations, Jack Butcher said something like, it doesn't feel right for me to do a PFP project that's just this, based around this shape, when you have when you have a massive exponential increase in image generation, where you could generate 10,000 PFPs in 10 minutes just with a single prompt. And that's going to happen very, very soon. So that kind of, I think, took a pause. And I think the timeline for this is around the Beeple event, which maybe you were there and you attended. I'm sure you met a lot of artists and people. Jack Butcher was there as well, and I'm sure he had a lot of conversations with artists. And so guess what happened? Like, I'll just ask you, do you guess what happened after all of this technology has been released and Jack Butcher being the artist that he is? What do you think happened?
Well, if I understand the artist, it seems like is really not too interested in just making the bag. So at this point, all he cares about is releasing art that makes sense for him, and also the fact that he jumped into checks exactly in the moment that Twitter released the blue check. It seems like he's very, very connected with the present, with what's happening around. Probably he kind of felt like that project was getting old, and he was like, why I have to do it? I don't have to do it just because I decided to do a PFP project.
Right.
So, or anyway, in the way that it was envisioned before, because the times change and also what you want changes. And that's what I like the most about him, the fact that since that wasn't anymore his truth, he decided to change what he was doing. So yeah, I bet it changed the course, right? The
Yeah,
course
and
of his project.
yeah, and so like part of the original idea was also, I think part of what Jack's genius is that
Mm,
so if you I'm zooming in here, but you can see a bunch of different PFPs and also images. Like there's Michael Jackson, there's Elizabeth Warren, there's Jack Butcher, and um, there's a Deadfellows, and people were taking the colors of their PFPs and putting it on Opepen, the shape. And the whole idea here was to create a silhouette and create geometric shapes that are really recognizable, where almost at a glance you can tell what that is. And
mm,
the interesting thing is that while Jack did start by putting some colors on Opepens with a PFP, most of this was just other people seeing that, getting inspired, and doing it themselves. And then somebody released like a web tool where you could just upload your PFP and it would automatically generate an Opepen in the color of your PFP. And so I feel like that's part of Jack's genius, is that he's really able to just, without incentives or clear, monetary incentives, he's able to shift the culture in a way that people actually respond and play along with him. And I think that's powerful. So like realizing that while this would be a cool, PFP project, and the shape is recognizable, it's just, it doesn't make sense to do a project with very basic colors and shapes if you have uh, the most fundamental shift in image generation of our time. So naturally, as a great artist would, you're right, he pivoted, and here is where we're at right now. And I'll go through a bunch of these, because for me, honestly, this stuff is absolutely mind blowing. So, boom. So it's a tweet, and this is April 3rd. So this is from 5 days ago. So this is one of the more recent ones. And he says, everything you can imagine is real. And so this is image AI generated art, but you can see the Opepen influence, right? You can see
so cool.
you can see the mouth and
Yeah.
the bottom. Same thing here. Just I look at this, and I'm like, I'm in shock and I'm in awe of just like, holy crap. This is so interesting. You have some of these ones right here, which looks like a Renaissance painting, but it's all AI generated with the Opepen shape. And so, just look at these. Like these are crazy. Opepen space station. Um, you
So cool.
have
So this is all done with AI, right?
this
With
is
prompt.
all, yes. This is
Yeah.
prompting. So it's two things. The first is using an image as the base template, saying,
Mhm.
hey, I want you to use this silhouette. And then you use prompts to enhance that. So for this one, you would say something like overhead drone shot of an island with palm trees and boats. And it would take those prompts, take the image that you gave it, and then create something like this. So you have like, just like, look at this one, and like, it's, I don't know, I see these every day on Twitter, and I'm blown away. You can see that it started near the end of March. That's when these started to become generated, and he says this artwork may or may not be handmade, which again, I think it's very, very down the rabbit hole. And this is one of the early ones that he tweeted out, where he said, quite far down the rabbit hole on March 28th. And so again, we have to be very conscious of the time scale here. This is 10 days ago that he was down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, no, like it's super cool the fact that he had to change because he was kind of getting into AI. Like, I don't know, to me feels like an artist that is creating something and then it gets so deep into something else that gets into the way and almost influences the whole project that he had in his head. And that's super natural and genuine, and it's really, let's say, a very honest way of
Mhm.
creating as an artist. I really like that. But like one of the best parts, and I actually picked some tweets as well.
Yeah, let me share
The
those.
most interesting part is that the community started to do their own. So this co-creation again, like it's cool to see how you can take something from a very famous artist and create like similar ways. Like this is this is cool. Looks like, I don't know, New Tokyo.
Yeah, it did look like New
renovation
Tokyo.
renovation goals. It's like for me is he created a movement once again,
Yeah,
even with this one, and that's for me it's like the most interesting part of all this, besides the art that it's super cool obviously, but how he's able to actually bring everyone with him.
yeah, and that like that's a super, like you said, it's very genuine, and I think it's a superpower. Not everybody
Mhm.
has that. I'm sure you can develop it, but you have to be very plugged in and in the moment, like you said. You have to kind of understand like what's beneath the consciousness of like what are people thinking about and what's nobody talking about. And it's like we're still seeing, NFT projects minting now, and it's art and it's being drawn and it's generative like through like different characteristics, but there's this giant elephant in the room that is AI and Midjourney and Nouns AI, and it's like people almost don't want to look at it because of what the implications of that elephant is. And Jack's just like, hey guys, there's a
Yeah.
big elephant. Not only am I going to address it, I'm going to jump on the elephant and I'm going to take it for a ride, and you guys can come on this journey with me. And so um, to me, I see this, and it's an inspiration for me of just like that this is available for anybody. You just have to like kind of understand and garner taste, and that will, it's like you'll get signals from the universe. And I think it's like some of the best artists are the ones that are able to say, I don't know how I thought of this, but something just came to me and I ran with it. And
Hmm.
that like somebody else might have seen Opepen and or was building Opepen and would have been like, oh yeah, this AI stuff is cool, but like I promised this, and so I'm gonna ship this, and then let me go explore AI. Whereas he was like, no, I know I said and committed to these things in public, but that's okay because people aren't buying. People don't want Opepen. People want the experience of like Jack Butcher's art, and the journey is the experience in all of this.
Hmm.
So that's kind of like the very big overview and some of the ethos behind it. But I think some of the next steps are probably even more interesting because,
Okay.
like any good artist, you take what works and then you put that on steroids. And so here is what's coming
Let's see.
next. On April 3rd, 5 days ago, Jack Butcher tweeted out V0.1 incoming, Opepen AI. Now, what's Opepen AI?
What's up,
Any
AI?
ideas? Maybe.
I have no clue. I don't know. It seems like he already created a Opepen AI movement. So I don't know. Is it trying to automate that in some way?
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
see.
I think you're getting it right on the head. So you have Jaleel who also worked with Jack on the checks contract, smart contract, and so like really really brilliant
Hmm.
dev. And that's the artist mentioned earlier with Scapes.xyz, which was Punkscapes before that. So they are building what looks like Opepen AI. So everything that you saw before, whether it was Jack Butcher generated or community generated co-creation, that's now turning into, or that was using Midjourney, Nouns AI, WTF, and other platforms. It looks like now the process to make your Opepen is going to be much simpler because you can just go to Opepen AI and use that website, which will be a trained AI image generation tool to create more Opepens. And so, if you thought what we saw so far was really creative, I think expect to see a lot more Opepen on your timeline, on your Twitter feed. And then when it comes to the actual next step of, well, this is a mint, and so it's a PFP. What is that going to look like? I don't think Jack has publicly stated that. I think it's not that there's a master plan and he's keeping it back. I think again it's very, in the moment, it's in flux. There's a mad rush of just technology innovations, and so let's ship out Opepen AI and then let's see what comes after that, and let's see what's sticky and what could work. And there's been some ideas floated around on his Twitter threads where he talks about it could be potentially letting people mint their own, or things like that. But then all of those comes with different considerations. So, like the he tweeted this out maybe a couple months back, but he said that the smart contract is the canvas, right? And so think about, I think this is performance art at its finest with like 21st century 2023 performance art, because we're seeing the merging of NFTs, we're seeing the merging of AI, and then we're seeing the merging of like virality and memes, all confluence with Twitter and AI and the blockchain and OpenSea and the market dynamics of all of that. It's all happening all at once. And so I really think we're living in a really like interesting time of like artistic performance. And I think Jack Butcher is doing it like nobody else. He's like number one in terms of what he's doing. I don't think people fully appreciate I think the genius that's kind of playing out here. So I'm super, like you can hear from my voice, I'm super obviously interested and invested in seeing where this experiment goes. Whether you have a bag or not, it's not the point. It's more just kind of sit back and watch this play out from like a purely like artistic appreciation, because it's performance art live on the blockchain, on AI, on Twitter, and it's evolving every day, depending on what signals Jack Butcher is getting from the universe of like, we need to go in this direction. So that's Opepen, and I think, I don't know if everybody sees that when they see the Opepens on their timeline or they see it on OpenSea and they're like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, what the hell is this? What's happening? I really needed like a kind of rundown of all the situation to really understand, appreciate. So yeah, this is very cool. I'm hoping that OpepenAI is going to let us mint something through it, because now that I know all of this, that I got to understand what's the process behind how the artist thinks. I really want to try to use that tool and see what comes out of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's super interesting, part of our culture, what's happening right now, part of the present, and yeah, I definitely want to participate.
And I think like it's not it would be wrong to close out the video without going to OpenSea, because NFTs. So there's about 16,000 Opepens total, and the floor is 0.465 ETH, and similar to checks, like he'll update the metadata every now and then, but I think like these are likely going to get migrated as well onto their own onto a separate collection, just like how checks was migrated from the one that minted on Zora, which is what this minted on, to probably something that is uh, immutable on the blockchain as well, similar to what checks ended up being, because they have some of the brightest minds. Jalil, he's working on the smart contract, and
Mhm.
he's a
Yeah.
super plugged in developer as well. And so yeah, I think even besides just the art and the artist, I think to see this play out and the speed of iteration and the ideas and thought process, even for his team, I think it's Jaleel and Traft's like a designer, Jaleel is smart contract, and then Jack Butcher is the artist slash designer. To see them as a unit kind of take over Twitter with their and NFTs, it's been fascinating to watch. And I think it's bullish on just like get the right people and get the right team around you, and anything is possible. It's really is about the team dynamics and caring about what you're creating and what you're putting out in the world. And so that's why I'm super pumped about whatever's coming next with Jack Butcher and Opepen. I hope that helped. Maybe is that, I think I cleared some things up for you.
I think it cleared everything up. Now I know everything about this artist. Almost,
Are
it
you gonna
seems
buy
like.
some? Are you
I
gonna
don't
buy
know.
some?
Maybe I'm hoping that he opens the use of OpepenAI also to people that don't own anything. I would
I
like
think
to
he
do
will.
that.
He will.
So
100%.
obviously, holders are gonna get a way to use their NFTs through that. But if new people can also experience how to use this tool that they're creating, that would be pretty cool. So
I
Yeah.
wouldn't worry about that, because I think one of the core tenets of, I think, what Jack Butcher believes and teaches, especially in some of his courses, and you can check those out in Visualize Value, is that it's meme propagation. It doesn't make sense to like close something off and not let other people create, because the act of creation itself, even if they don't own, propagates the meme, the idea, which brings it more relevance, provenance, and makes it part of the culture. So if you only limit that to the people that own your NFT, then you're missing out on the actual value creation. The product is not buy my NFT so you can use this tool. The product is really the experience, the journey that everybody's going on, financially or experientially. And that's not, and so what that means is that you don't need to just own one to be a part of this journey. You can be a part of the journey just by watching and learning or appreciating the art. So Jack Butcher, keep doing what you're doing. You're an inspiration to, I think, many people, myself included, and excited to see where Opepen goes.
Thank you so much for watching this video. We are the Damn Show. Like always, please like, subscribe, leave a comment down below if you knew about this artist, you like what you just watched, or if you didn't know and you just learn about all this stuff like me. Leave a comment also and let us know if it was good enough for you to learn about this artist. So we'll see you next week. Thank you for watching again. Bye.
Bye, everybody.